It's time to react to the world.
Yeah, and today we're going back to Sweden.
Yes.
Once again, we're going to be checking out Stefan's vlogs, who is insanely popular in Sweden. The Swedes love him and love his take on what life is like there from an American standpoint. And actually, the reaction we did to him, where he was talking about all the weird things in Sweden, it's like turned into like one of the most popular reactions we've done. Yeah, because people want to see how, I guess, an American reacts to another American. Go figure.
And he messaged us on Instagram.
He did. He messaged. Oh, he also wrote a comment in our YouTube channel as well saying, hey, y'all are awesome. Thanks for checking me out.
Yeah.
It's ironic because that video was so popular, and the number one thing that everyone talked about in the comments, of all things, was how they love putting ketchup on their pasta. Like, of all the things. Like, there was a raging debate, like, no, nobody does that. Or like, how come the rest of the world doesn't do that?
Filipinos also put ketchup on their pasta, John.
No, it's not ketchup. Do they put
It's banana ketchup.
It's a little bit different.
Still ketchup.
I guess it is ketchup.
You don't like
it's
it.
overly sweet. It feels like eating spaghetti with Skittles. It's like
What the heck?
It's like
okay, that's
candy
different.
sweet.
That's different cooking. All
Anyways,
right.
it was fascinating. So I figure let's check out some other things about him that he covers. And this one is 5 things I never knew existed before moving to Sweden. Because I'm always curious about the things that are just a little bit different culturally.
We're being educated by him on how to prepare ourselves whenever we go and visit. Right, John?
Were you dropping hints that we should be visiting soon?
Start saving, John.
You're the one who's doing the budget now.
All right.
And away we go.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Stefan Thyron, and I moved to Sweden 10 months ago from America. I love to talk about the differences in American and Swedish culture on the channel, as well as any other experiences I have while traveling. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. With that being said, we're gonna jump into today's video, which are 5 things that I never knew existed before moving to Sweden.
Ketchup on pasta.
Wow.
That's the
she?
girl that he moved to Sweden for. His now ex-girlfriend. They broke it up.
No way. Aww.
I think they're still friends though, or something like that.
Now, the first thing that I did not know existed before moving to Sweden is paid paternity leave for up to a year long. This is a really foreign concept to me.
We knew this.
Yes. He mentioned this, huh?
I think we watched it in a
Another
facts
different-
video.
As an American, paternity leave is not something that's like always available in America, and it seems like it's starting to become more and more popular, but nowhere near the paternity leave that they have here in Sweden, where fathers can take up to a year off to be with their kid. In America, usually the mother will get some maternity leave time, but nowhere near the amount of time that parents get here in Sweden to be with their kids. And I think it's really nice that Swedes can have that time with their kids during the developmental years.
There's only like 1 or 2 companies in the US that even offer paternity leave at this level. Something like Netflix or the Bill Gates Melinda Foundation. They'll give you like a year in that kind of scenario. Yeah.
I think that's a really, really good way to build those strong family connections and play a big role in the development of your child. So it's cool that this country is really supporting of that maternity and paternity leave. Now, in my own scenario growing up, my mom took 7 years off of work to raise my brother and I growing up. And so basically we were a single income family of 4, just living off of my dad's teaching salary. But at the same time, I feel really, really lucky that my mom did take all that time off to be with my brother and I as we were being raised. I feel like that really made our childhood extremely special. So it's cool that in Sweden, they have a support system in place so that more parents can take that time off to be with their kids. The second thing I did not know existed before moving to Sweden is Systembolaget. Now, I already did a video about alcohol laws in Sweden versus America on my channel. If you haven't seen that, be sure to check it out. Link somewhere, probably in the description. Basically, I had never heard of Systembolaget. In America, every state has different liquor laws. So for example, the state that I live in, you can buy alcohol at the grocery stores, but there are some states that do have special liquor stores. But pretty much in most states, I think almost every state, you can at least buy beer and wine at grocery stores. So it was kind of crazy to me coming across this Systembolaget and their strange hours at times, not being open on Sundays or not being open past 3 o'clock on Saturdays. I think that's the correct time. I think there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages to Systembolaget, which I cover in my other video. But yeah, that is something that I completely had no idea existed. And it actually is the biggest liquor buyer in the world, I believe. I hope I said that right. They are the one group that purchases the most alcohol because basically they're providing alcohol for the entire country of Sweden, which is really, really cool actually. The third thing that I did not know existed before moving to Sweden is the sport bandy. Now, let me say, there are a lot of sports here in Sweden that we don't have in America and vice versa. Now, bandy is a really, really cool sport, and it kind of took me by surprise the first time I saw it. There's actually a place really close to where I work where there's this just huge, like soccer field size ice skating rink, I guess you could say, like a field of ice basically. And basically what bandy is it's outdoor ice hockey that the people play 11 versus 11 with a ball, and basically they've got goals the size of soccer goals and they're skating around on the ice with their sticks and everything trying to score on the big goals. It was really a sight to see for me because I had never seen anything like that before, and I thought it was really, really cool.
Like ice soccer.
Yeah, but they just call it bandy.
Because only America calls soccer soccer.
Now there's a ton of other sports here in Sweden that they play that they don't really have in America and vice versa. For example, some of the ones that I've run into recently is floorball is really, really common here. They call it innebandy in Sweden. And it's basically like the floor hockey that we have in the States. But in the States, they play floor hockey with a puck, whereas here in Sweden, the clubs are a little bit different and they actually use a ball rather than an indoor hockey puck. And it is much more common for people to play innebandy or floorball here in Sweden than floor hockey is in America. It's not quite as common. There are some other cool sports like brännboll is basically the Swedish version of kickball or baseball, but in this version, players toss the ball up to themselves and hit it. And for the defense in brännboll, instead of trying to throw the ball to the bases to get the runners out, there's actually just one burner, what it's called, in the middle, where you can throw the ball to them. And if they get the ball and somebody's not on base, they get burned. So brännboll is kind of like the Swedish version of kickball or baseball. Kickball, for those of you that don't know, is basically baseball, but you kick it instead of hit the ball with a bat. So that's a really, really fun variation, but a lot of times Swedes have a hard time learning baseball and kickball because they're so used to just throwing the ball to a certain spot, whereas in baseball and kickball, you have to throw it to a specific base in order to actually get people out. So it's been really, really cool for me to experience some different takes on some different sports, and it seems like the sports here in Sweden are very, very similar to the sports in America, just with some slight differences that is kind of interesting to compare between the two countries. The fourth thing that I didn't know existed before coming to Sweden, I'm going to group this in as like a lot of the clothing brands that people will wear here. Now, Swedes are known for being very well dressed, but the clothing brand that I want to highlight is Gant. Never seen Gant before. They may have a store in New York. I could be wrong on that. But Gant is something that I've never seen. I like to equate it to like the Swedish version of Polo Ralph Lauren. Swedes like to wear a lot of those designer, nice looking clothes. Gant to me seems very, very similar to Polo Ralph. It looks really good. I've never owned anything personally from Gant, but I do think that it looks really, really sharp. And yeah, I never knew that existed before moving to Sweden. And the last thing that I never knew existed before moving to Sweden is surströmming. Now, this should be no surprise. Surströmming to me just seems like a very, very weird thing. It's basically rotten fish.
Oh, must be some sort of fermented fish dish.
When people told me about surströmming, I really thought they were joking at first. But actually, to be honest with you, most of the Swedes I talked to have never actually eaten surströmming. It's more of a traditional food and more of something that they would do in the very north of Sweden to eat this basically fermented rotten fish. But a lot of people have asked me to try surströmming on my YouTube channel. So someday when I work up the courage, I may actually do that. But I have heard that it just smells completely terrible, and that smell is just super pervasive.
If you like durian, babe, I don't think this will be any problem whatsoever.
So I do not plan on opening the surströmming in our apartment, so I have been warned, and I'm gonna do it a safe way if I actually end up doing that. But stay tuned to the channel because I'm sure at some point I will. I want to experience everything this country has to offer. So with that being said, those were the 5 things that have really stood out to me that I never knew existed before moving to Sweden. Be sure to comment which one surprised you the most. I'm really, really curious to see what you guys have to say. With that being said, I will see you guys next week.
Very interesting.
I just wish that, for example, the fish, he showed some photo on what it looks like.
Oh, that's true. That's okay. Let's look it up real quick. What was it called? It was called
surströmming.
I mean, probably just looks like fish that looks rotten. Okay, so it's fish in a can. I guess
that photo looks so scary with that guy.
Oh my God, this picture here looks like they're throwing up eating this thing. This looks like one of those challenges. I mean, it's canned food.
I think I can eat this.
Yeah, honestly, this looks like sardines,
and they put it on like a Caesar salad. Or, that looks yum.
I guess we'll try it. So I guess the question is, like, how do we get our hands on something like this? Because I actually did try to Google if there was a Swedish store here.
Yeah.
And the only thing that came up was IKEA. The furniture store, which actually I think they do sell a number of food items there that we can go. Yeah, we should just go there and just do a little mukbang of Swedish food, like the Swedish meatballs, which we tried there. But they have a bunch of other type of like gooseberry or
but
something
there's
like
a lot of people trying to contact me saying that they want to send us some goodies from Sweden.
Yes, and I would love to be able to take food from all over the world and try them, but there's 2 things here. One is we don't want to give away our address, right? Because we've heard of the dangers of doing something like that. So we would need to set up a PO box, which maybe we'll do starting this year because we're getting to a size where fans are requesting that they want to send us different things and we can showcase and do an unboxing. Yeah. But the second issue is, do you really want to eat food sent to you from a stranger? Like, you don't know what happened to that food. It could be like a fan that is just a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I would rather just go buy it myself. For something like this, especially canned food, I'm sure we could just order it online. So I think it's just a matter of going to find and hunt stuff like this. The harder thing for me is I want to taste like a true Swedish cuisine, and there isn't a real Swedish restaurant besides IKEA, right? That's meatballs. Yeah, nothing wrong with that because Swedish meatballs is a big thing. It's just I think the IKEA version is very processed. It doesn't taste homemade.
Right.
It tastes like the kind of thing that you just microwave for a minute and a half and served up at a school cafeteria.
It is.
It probably
but
is.
It's still good. I love their meatballs.
Oh, it is damn good. All right, y'all. Good fun again. And once again, Stefan, good stuff.